Hey guys, Travis with Everglades here. Today we're going to take a look at two really popular tractors, the Kubota MX5400 and the John Deere 4052R. Stick around. Both of these tractors are great for people that, you're like a small property owner, and a lot of these also have a lot of commercial use. That's right. Oftentimes you'll see both of these tractors with a broom mounted to the front of them, and asphalt crews will use them. Also, you'll see both of them used for like laser grading applications, like doing like horse arenas, very specific commercial tasks. So these tractors are very popular for homeowners, property owners, and a lot of commercial use. So let's start getting into the nuts and bolts of these things a little bit more. So both of these tractors spec out pretty close in terms of horsepower and weight. The Deere is a little bit heavier than the Kubota, and we'll see where some of that extra weight comes in a little bit later. But by and large, both of them are pretty close. But there's some features on the Deere that you can't get on the Kubota, as we commonly see throughout the product lineup. So let's get into it. So on the Deere, you will find that the steering components are protected behind the front axle, which protects them from damage whenever you're out in the field, bush hogging and things like that. Additionally, this loader has a John Deere Quick Connect coupler on the front, but you can order these with a skid steer coupler as well if you would like to have that option. So on the Kubota, the steering components are in front of the axle, which that makes them more susceptible to damage whenever you're out in the field, say bush hogging or whatever else, and there's no telling what'll pop up in the tall grass that you can't quite see. So that is a feature on the Kubota. Additionally, you'll notice the Kubota has halogen lights on the front. It's the only way it comes. In fact, just to come clean here, I've been a mole in some Kubota forums on Facebook and so forth for a while, and one of the things that guys complain about a lot is they're like, what are some ways I can add additional lighting to this tractor? Because the factory lighting leaves something to be desired. So on the Deere, you'll see it does have these nice LED headlights up there. Additionally, you have some LED work lights up there. So you have plenty of lighting on this tractor, because an LED light is going to be a lot brighter than a halogen light. So this is a 4052R tractor, which, just to break it down real quick, on the Deeres you have E's, M's, and R's. E's are going to be your more base model, economy oriented. M is going to be kind of middle of the range, and R is going to be really nice. That's going to be like your Escalade top tier tractor, right? And this is a 4052R, so obviously you're going to have some really nice features on here, and the Kubota is not going to offer a lot of this stuff. Now, it's really hot outside, and I'm going to kind of run through this relatively quickly to give you an idea of some of the stuff that comes on the 4052R that you can't get on the Kubota. Now, a lot of this is features inside the cab and has to do with precision control. Because again, one of the big markets for both of these tractors are a lot of commercial applications, like running a broom, doing things like precision laser grading, even some guys that'll use the loader precisely inside of a barn and things like that. You want to have a lot of precision and control over the tractor. So the Deere has some features like LoadMatch, MotionMatch. Both of them allow you to do very precise movements. In fact, LoadMatch, one of the nice things about that is basically the loader will just rev up whenever it senses it needs to. So you can keep the throttle down a little bit lower, but the engine will automatically rev up whenever it senses it needs more power to do those loader tasks. So one of the nice features on the 4052R is how easy it is to hook up implements. Now, anybody that's ever hooked up an implement knows you got to get in and out of the cab a couple of times to kind of get it adjusted just right, kick this, move that. But on the 4052R, it has these buttons back here where you can actually drop the 3-point just a little bit, raise it a little bit, or even pull the tractor forward and back from standing right here with this control pad. Now, that's really nice for making minor adjustments. It just saves you a lot of time from having to get in and out of the cab of the tractor in order to hook up your implement. And I really don't even need to say it, but you can't get that on the Kubota. Now, let's talk about the rear end on these tractors. Now, both of them have the adjustable links down here where you can adjust it exactly how you need to get it for whatever implement you have. But if you look at the rear end of the John Deere, you'll see there's a lot more iron back here. And if you're buying a tractor by the pound, you're getting a heck of a lot better deal with the John Deere. So if you look, there's a lot more meat to this rear end on the John Deere. And even if you look at the rear axles, there's plenty of iron in there versus let's take a look at how the Kubota looks in just a second. So check it out. Now, if you look at the rear end on the Kubota, it almost looks like somebody took a bite out of this rear end because there's a lot less iron back here than there is on the Deere. And also, if you look at the ends of the rear axle, they look a lot skinnier, and obviously there's less iron there. So again, like I was saying, if you're buying a tractor by the pound, you're getting a heck of a better deal with the John Deere. Because the thing about a tractor is you want it to be strong for pulling applications, pushing applications, and a lot of that strength comes from the rear axle. So if you don't have a very strong rear axle, you don't have a very strong tractor. So inside the cab of the Kubota, if you sit in the Deere and you sit in the Kubota, I don't know how to describe this on film, but if you just sit in both of them, the Kubota just feels a little bit cheaper because there's a little bit less insulation in here. It is a little bit louder inside the cab. But for me, if I'm buying one of these tractors, taking off my John Deere hat for a minute, one of the most unforgivable and infuriating things about the Kubota is this thing, the treadle pedal. That's right, that's what I have my foot resting on right now. Any Kubota with a hydrostatic transmission has one of these things. Now, just to clarify, a hydrostatic transmission is the one where you have the two pedals, right? In the John Deere, you've got like a forward pedal and a reverse pedal. In a Kubota, you got this thing. So it's a big old pedal right here that takes up most of the floorboard, and you have to, especially if you're doing loader work, where you have to go back and forth, you have to balance your foot in the middle of it, and you can't really rest your, it's hard to explain, but if you do it, you'll see what I'm talking about. I want you to envision like you're doing some loader work, you're moving some piles of dirt. What you're gonna have to do is you can't really lean back in the seat. In order for it to be comfortable, you have to lean forward and you have to be able to move your whole leg like this, and you're moving your arm in order to work the loader, right? So really this is the worst part here, having to rock your foot back and forth. It's not very comfortable. And if you sit in the cab of a Kubota and you do this, you'll see exactly, and I've got big feet, like this is about a size 13 foot. And you can see it's a lot to kind of balance back and forth between these two functions. If you have small feet, it might be a different story. But there's a lot easier way of doing this, and let's check it out whenever we get in the cab of the John Deere. Now, in the John Deere, the cab, I don't know how to describe it, but it just feels a little bit nicer in here. It's almost like going from an Escalade to going to like a Daewoo or something, right? So, but the biggest thing, setting all that aside, is the twin touch system, because I want you to think about it. In a tractor like this, you're going to be going back and forth a lot. If you're running a broom, you're going back and forth a lot. If you're using the loader, you're going back and forth a lot. And if you're doing precision grade work, like with a laser box blade or something, you're probably going to be going back and forth a lot. Now in the Deere, you just have two pedals here. You got a forward pedal, reverse pedal. So it feels a lot more like driving a car than opposed to driving a vehicle with a weird thing. But I'm able to keep my heel in one spot and just pivot back and forth between those two functions, right? So it's just a lot more intuitive and easier system to use. Going back to the same example, if I'm stockpiling dirt or doing whatever, I can work the loader right here and I can move my foot. I only have to move my whole leg in order to change directions, right? I can just move my foot over. I can go from forward, reverse, as many times as I want to, and it doesn't wear my whole leg out. And you can imagine this is just me sitting out here just playing with it. But if you got to be in this thing 8, 10, 12 hours a day and do that, okay, now it's starting to make a pretty big difference. So if you're wondering why am I spending so much time talking about the foot pedals on these two tractors, well, to be honest with you, yeah, it is more difficult to use the Kubota and it is easier to use the Deere. But also, I just bought a new pair of boots last week and I really just wanted to flex on all y'all on YouTube land. So honestly, that's really my motivation there. But that's neither here nor there. Like I mentioned outside a minute ago, the 4052R has some great precision controls. They're all accessed from this keypad right here, right? Which just allows you to do functions like that cruise control, and you can do some great precision functions which really aid you in repetitive tasks where you need a lot of power, but you need very precise movement of the tractor in order to efficiently and safely run this tractor. So one thing that Kubota likes to talk about is, oh yeah, we got a metal tractor and it ain't got that polymer or whatever. But let me show you what you get whenever you get that metal tractor. So this tractor, I took it in on trade and it's only got like 70 hours on it and was just used around somebody's property. So check it out. You can already see there's a good amount of scratches and dings on this hood. Guys, this tractor only has 70 hours on it. So I want you to think about it once this tractor gets 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000 hours on it. How many dents, dings, and discolorations you're gonna get on their hood. Which again, that really affects your resale value of your tractor. And also you want something that's just gonna look good for the lifetime that you own it. Now, one thing about the John Deeres versus Kubotas across the board is you'll find that a John Deere is engineered to be easy to work on, easy to service, easy to run, even on the little daily things. One of the most common daily things you'll have to do is put diesel in the tractor. This is where they put the diesel tank. So I want you to think about if you're in the middle of a pasture somewhere and you got like a 5-gallon bucket, you got to raise that sucker up over the tractor, and of course you're going to spill some of it, but that's where they put the diesel tank. So let's check it out where they put it on the John Deere. This is where they put the diesel tank on the John Deere. So you can see it's a lot more, I've got a lot more space out here to work. And if I need to lift up a fuel can or something, I don't have to worry as much about spilling it all over the hood of the tractor because I have this area to work in with all this area around me. Before you buy either of these tractors and you go tell your neighbor or your friends what you bought, whenever you tell them you bought a John Deere, there's a lot of pride of ownership based around that, because I'll tell you what, you really don't see many people wearing Kubota baseball caps. Now, another thing about the John Deere is you always know you're going to be able to get parts, service, and support for it, which is one of the things that helps John Deeres retain their resale value. Now, another thing is in Central and South Florida, with Everglades Equipment, we have excellent service and support on these tractors. We're a family-owned John Deere dealership, and we've got your back after you buy the tractor. So give us a shot. We'd love to talk to you and answer any questions you got about these tractors or any other tractors in the John Deere lineup. Now guys, it's really hot out here, and thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.